at first I was trying to grow my hair out.
You mean like locks?
Had I not stopped, it would have probably looked like yours.
Yes.
And you know, someone said to me, you know that when you grow your hair out, you go through the ugly phase. I'm like, what? So let me try the ball. And so I tried it, and then everybody marveled at, you know, the shape of my head. I was like,
you have a number of dance partners within the company.
right.
But there's one that floats to the top. Kerry.
Yes.
Are you guys married?
To see Marlon Sims dance is to be transported, whether the genre is folk, modern, or popular dance. This mesmerizing manipulation of muscle and technique causes him to stand out as a lead dancer of the NDTC, of which he's been a member since 1999. However, life has been choreographing his love affair with dance since the mid-1990s as a student at St. Jago High. In fact, I can vividly remember one of his earliest award-winning performances, where only he and a stool captured the imagination of audiences to the sounds of Jimmy Cliff's "Sitting Here in Limbo" in a black and white costume.
Deciding that his passions of dance and education would marry, Marlon has evolved from artist to emerging artist facilitator and is now the Dean of the School of Dance at the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. There he directs the ship that trains and certifies dancers in the areas of dance education and dance performance. Perhaps, though, his biggest voyage is as the artistic director of the now 60-year-old National Dance Theatre Company, a role he has been serving in since 2018.
Marlon Sims, dancer, choreographer, educator, administrator, and so much more. Curtain Call is honored to have you join us as we focus our attention on creatives and artists during their intermission between projects and performances.
I'm happy that you're here to share with us
Yes.
your commitment to the development and performance of dance.
Welcome.
Big up yourself.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I must tell you that that introduction sounded like an out-of-body experience. It's an honor to have been invited to be here. I'm really, really quite really humbled by this, by just the invitation, sitting here across from you, sharing this moment. I am just really humbled. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you so much for saying yes. So I have a special connection with you, Marlon.
Oh, yes.
St. Jago,
Yeah.
Mount Street. So I've seen your evolution somewhat close up to some degree, because I remember when I fell in love with you on stage as a dancer. And to see you now, when I sit in Little Theatre dancing or seeing the works that you've created, performed, you know, it's just joy for me.
Oh, thank you.
I remember your first Millennial Beings, I
Millennial
think,
Beings.
2000. You and
Yes.
Marlon Finn were the dancer,
Mark
and you're the
Finn.
choreographer, right?
Yeah.
So why did you decide to live a life committed to dance?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it's beyond dance. It's about living a life of service. And in living a life of service, I believe that you carry talents to execute that service. And so when I discovered that dance was one of my talents, I said, then perhaps my service is meant to be done using that medium. And then I said, okay, fine, I do love teaching as well. So I guess it's another form, another way to serve. And so, you know, I grew up in a church, and there's this group that talks about giving talent and who lost the talent because they didn't develop the talent, but those who actually built on the talent earned more.
Yeah.
And so I thought that the best way for me to serve is to develop those talents and expand them and continue to live a life of service. So for me, dance is about service.
So,
Education is about service.
I'm glad you mentioned dance, service, and education because you taught at Merle Grove High for about 8 years.
I did.
Whoa.
English literature. So that was service for you as well.
Literature, not dance.
Well,
Well, I'm not sure if you didn't do
that
dance.
was a part of it because I had a club at the time, and I would actually use dance to teach literature, to bring the
Explain.
stories alive. So I remember we were doing a book called Escape the Last Man Peak. And so the students had to read the text. So they had a challenge grasping the material and understanding the plot and the characters. So what they had to do was to become the characters and demonstrate the plot through movement.
So we know that's possible by reenacting, drama, theater, we
Right.
understand that. But dance.
Yes.
How?
So
I mean, just create a picture for us of that classroom where.
Yeah, choreograph a picture like that.
Yes. Yes.
well, let us say they were very excited to leave the classroom and go into the auditorium in their dance clothes. And I say
Right.
dance clothes, not leotards and ties, but whatever they had at home that they were comfortable moving in. And so the language of dance offered them the opportunity to not speak in the role, but to become the role and perform the movement through the vocabulary that they were comfortable doing. And the vocabulary that they thought best expressed that character.
Wow, that's nice. And in our introduction of you, we spoke about you and the chair sitting there in limbo.
Right.
It's almost full circle that he was at school doing that, and then 8 years of doing somewhat that, marrying it to literature as well. Expound a little bit more on your journey at St. Jago
And then to Merle Grove.
and then to Merle Grove, yeah.
Right.
Well, because I've always wanted to become a teacher. I mean, my family wanted me to become a lawyer because
Of
I do
course.
have the gift of gab. And
Did you do debating?
I did a little of that. I was also in school challenge quiz.
Yes.
I was always to the president of the UNESCO club. So I was very kind of busybody. And Key Club, Interact Club. So I was very involved in school. I plus to play volleyball and all kind of something. And I would run and
Active man.
yeah, very active.
Well, at the school at this called St. Jago, you are groomed to be rounded. I must say.
Absolutely.
Is there like a chant like St. Jago number what?
Number
Number
one,
one.
but
Hey.
that's a whole different
Yeah,
interview.
whole different interview. And so the performing arts, and I call it St. Jago School of the Arts, academic, athletics, and the arts.
Right.
And so I experienced a full gamut and range of experiences there, which offered me more in terms of my capacity to give more in the classroom. And so when I went to Merle Grove to teach, I brought all of those experiences with me, and I was able to cross-pollinate. So the classroom experience became a slice of life that I experienced. And I also drew from the experience because they didn't come to me as empty vessels. They came in
Right.
with as students with experience and knowledge already. It's how to shape that knowledge so it serves their better good. So that was the process.
So what would you say from your 8 years at Merle Grove are the lessons that you learned that you still keep with you?
The lessons I learned is that young people have ideas. And young people have so much to offer. And that if they're given a space to express their own creativity, then they would themselves find who they are. And once they find who they are, they become more confident. They become active, lifelong learners. They become creative individuals, finding solutions through their own processes. And they also become contributors to society.
Wow. Do you see that carrying over at the Edna Manley College?
Oh,
where you're the dean?
absolutely, absolutely. I always say that it's a student-centered environment. So once they come in, we find out who they are. They find out who they are. And when they leave, we continue to mentor them. Because for everyone in life, I believe that they do well with support and mentorship. And we try to be that person for each student that we have enrolled in the program. And we try to help them discover the range of so much that this world has to offer. So we kind of offer them a global experience from the window of the Caribbean. And they really enjoy that. And because it's a small school, we build a very intimate relationship with our students. We become almost family. I mean, if I'm called Uncle Marlon one more time,
Oh yeah, you've gone into Uncle Dom now.
yeah, once I go into Uncle, I'm like, the last person I called Uncle was Uncle Barry.
Oh,
Yes,
dear
yes,
God.
yes, yes.
You've gone into Uncle Dom for real.
He was my senior. For those who do not know, Uncle Barry Moncrief was
Right.
a past artistic director, former artistic director of the NDTC, and I
Yes.
succeeded him. And he was in the company for 58 years.
Mm.
Right. And so calling him uncle was a sign of respect. He's an older gentleman. He has all of these accolades and experiences. So now being called Uncle Marlon, I'm like, wonder if they see me in the same light.
They can answer that question. They do.
So
They do.
that's an amazing transition to walking into that kind of shoe, which I don't think necessarily fit me because Uncle Barry has such a big shoe.
I know. That's so nice that you segue into that, which is NDTC, under the umbrella of NDTC.
Right.
And Heavy's the crown. Heavy's the head
That
that
wears
wears the
the
crown.
crown.
Right.
And you have two huge crowns wearing: the artistic director of the National Dance Theatre Company and the dean of the School of Dance.
Wow. How are you balancing those
No,
two?
tell me. Yeah,
Sometimes I ask
You
myself, how
had
do I
that
balance?
beginner, Marlon.
that's true. Ish.
It really is the work of the creator in terms of having me carry those two roles in the way that I do. It's quite humbling, and it's quite an honor. And added to that, I'm the first male dean of the School of Dance ever.
I didn't realize that.
So then I have to bring something else to the plate, in terms of not only representing what I can, within who I am, but to also draw other males to the art form through academia and having them realize that they too can sit in the chair that I am sitting. I'm not going to be here forever. It has to be at some point occupied by someone who is from another generation. And
Did
so
you hear that? He's not going to be here forever. I mean, we know the whole mortality thing, but he's thinking about succession planning and continuing
mentorship
and
and
mentorship.
grooming
Absolutely.
and the future really is what you're thinking of.
Absolutely. I think we all have a responsibility to pass on our knowledge to the next generation. When I think about my own life, so many people poured who they are into me. It'd be quite selfish for me to just cover the jar and put it away. I have to pour into someone else.
Wow.
Service again.
Service again, absolutely.
You have you have a number of dance partners within the company,
Right.
but there's one that floats to the top. Kerry,
Yes.
are you guys married?
Oh my God.
We're often asked that question
Really?
because
Because of the chemistry?
the chemistry on the stage, and one dance in particular, it was a love duet called Minutes and Seconds.
I know that dance. You performed
right.
that dance at a function that I was working on a few
Right,
years ago because I
right.
requested that dance.
Right. And so people always assume that we are just these really close, intimate souls, which we are.
Yes.
Professionally. And we also share, she's born a day apart from me.
She's August?
She's August. She's a Virgo.
I know you're a Virgo because
Yes.
I'm August, but I'm Leo.
Oh, you're Leo, right. You're born
Right,
ahead of me.
right.
Right.
Wow.
So then, I celebrate my birthday, then you have Carrie celebrating her birthday. So we have that in common in terms of our bond.
Wow.
And then we are a little pedantic.
A little bit.
Yeah.
An understatement.
A little pedantic. We crave excellence and we want to be the best. So in so many ways, we identify with each other. And then Carrie's such a sweet soul.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we
Such
don't
a
want to make
sweet
this
soul.
interview about Kerry.
Hers
Yeah.
will come.
Yeah. But I mean, as you spoke about that chemistry,
Yes.
be it professional or otherwise, I mean, it's just amazing coming across and the focus and, we could watch an entire season of just you and Kerry.
Oh,
literally.
you're just
Because
you're
it's
so
both
kind.
emotional and intelligent at the same time.
Yeah,
That's
thank
what
you
I
so
find
much.
from your performances together and separate. Now, speaking of performances, I know some of my fondest memories of you on stage. Sweet in the Morning.
Oh, my
Okay.
favorite dance.
But
I'm going to get that body and him going to teach me how to do it.
the ripple with the hand? Okay.
Oh,
All right.
wow.
But one of my fondest memories is not even on the boards of any stage in Jamaica. I remember so clearly you were part of some contingent that went to represent Jamaica at some global event. And it's you on the stage in this vest and pants, and you're doing a lot of folk pop dance, and there's a band on
Oh,
stage.
that's Fab 5. We went to Monaco.
Yes,
It
that
was
is one
the
of because I was
IAAF
watching you on
World-
TV, and I was like,
World
look
Attic
at
Awards.
Marlon.
Yes, that
It was
was
just a whole heap of light coming out of you,
that
one
was
on the
an
stage as a
amazing,
dancer.
that was an amazing experience. It was my first time in Monaco, and it's my first time traveling with Fab 5. And we were honored to have been put together. That's one. And then originally I was supposed to bring Sweet in the Morning, but that didn't work out. And so I had to choreograph this work to
Oh, so
live
what I saw
music.
was fresh things.
It was
Yeah.
fresh. I had it's structured
Sweet in the evening.
improvisation.
No, in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Sweetness.
And at that time, Usain Bolt he had just blazed an
Yes.
international trail for himself. And so it was a very exciting time for Jamaica. The sense of patriotism was very high.
Yes.
They had invited Jamaica to be a part of the IWF Awards. And so it was just an honor. Really, really amazing.
That magic on stage in Monaco, how was that for you?
Number one, just being asked to represent your country is an honor in and of itself. And then you recognize that, you are millions of viewers will be looking at you and watching you. And of course, you'll be watched by your own countrymen and women. And so I have to think about, oh my goodness, I have to be true to who we are, do something at the core that represents us, and try to be the best I can be in that moment. And so I just said, okay, fine, I have to rely on my traditional folk forms and my knowledge of it. So I did extrapolate that and put it together in this presentation. And then it was a moment of celebration.
So you were the Bolt of dance.
Yes.
Yeah, you were on the international stage, as you said.
Yes.
A question, Marlon. Have you been across all continent?
Oh my goodness.
Like, where have you been? Let's just start there.
Well, through the NDTC, and thank goodness for the NDTC
Yes,
for
thank
being
goodness
such
for
an
the
important part of my life. I mean, they've been traveling over the past few years. Ever since I joined the company in 1999, NDTC has been on the road. And then I've been invited outside of the NDTC. So it's quite a number of places within the Caribbean, of course, within North America.
What are some of the places in the Caribbean?
In the Caribbean, Antigua, St. Kitts, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados. I can't remember all of them now.
And let's get out of the beautiful Caribbean
Okay,
Sea.
several places in North America. When I say North America, Canada and the United States, New York, Florida, Connecticut. I've been to England, and we've toured across England, Birmingham, London, Liverpool. I've been to
Have you gone
Japan,
like Europe side?
Japan.
More
No,
Europe?
I've not gone to Europe because the company has not been there since my time.
Right.
Okay.
But they have traveled across
You've been
Europe.
to Japan, you say?
Yeah, I've been to Japan, but not with the NDTC.
Okay.
It was another project where it was celebrating Jamaica 50. And so Neela Ebanks and I choreographed on 4 dances as part of a contingent.
Nice.
And Tess and Chin was a part of it. I remember I was a part of it. There was a band as well. And
So what's the place that was most magical for you?
was most magical, I think Japan was.
Why?
I was there for 6 weeks and we went all over Japan. And when you talk about a tour being organized and always on point and on time, and the incredible discipline of the Japanese people in ensure that it happens the way it should. I mean, every theater we went to looked exactly the same in terms of setup.
Oh, wow.
And they were ready for us every time we got there. If the show was supposed to begin at 6, it is going to start at 6. Just an incredible mastery at organization.
Say something nice in Japanese
Uh,
that you remember.
oh my goodness, like origato?
I know. What about the character about that means in English?
Thank you, I believe.
Yes.
Did you say it again?
Arigato?
Arigato.
Oregato.
Yes.
Yeah, and interesting enough for that tour, I was given a
6 weeks.
6 weeks. And I had to get a tutor,
Ah.
a Japanese tutor, because I had to host a component of the show
Wow.
where we taught the audience Jamaican dance moves, and we invited them up to join us on stage. And so I had to learn how to host that component of the show. And so I had to learn Japanese phrases.
So we know Japanese and dancehall are match made in
yeah.
heaven or in Jamaica.
They loved it.
The question is, was it predominantly dancehall?
No,
or
it
did you bring all the folk forms?
It was all the folk forms
So all
because
the vocabulary of NDTC or just Jamaican dance vocabulary?
right? Because the
Okay.
show we demonstrated Buru, Etu, Kumena,
Hey.
Gere, and of course the popular dance form. So they had a kind of like a historical perspective or overview of dance in Jamaica.
Yep.
And so when we had the competition on stage and invited them up, we had to teach them the movements.
You said a word a while ago, and I just saw my body do this a while ago. Gary.
Gary.
Because no matter how many times I see Gary
Yes.
performed by the National Dance Theatre Company, my knees turn in the moment.
It has
I have my own words that I sing. I'm sure that's not what he sings.
And there's this guy.
He's short and brown.
Yes.
It reminds us of his brother-in-law.
I know, but there's
Oh.
also another man.
Yeah.
Is what you say, Timothy?
Yes, Timothy.
Okay, because I sing Brother Timothy, a chamba chamba la la.
Yeah.
That's what I say. But so what? Which of the on the repertoire of NDTC are among your favorites, or maybe you don't want to say?
Well, I love all the traditional folk
course
forms.
you're gonna
This
say
year we're doing drum score as part of our 60th anniversary presentation.
I've seen drum score.
You've never seen drum
I don't
score?
think I have.
And it involved the two drummers on stage. You don't see that very often when we do our repertoire. They're in the middle of the stage and the dancers dance around, which is really quite nice. So the musicians get featured.
Almost like dance bongo in Trinidad.
Oh, there you go. Okay. I see you know your Caribbean dances.
There you go.
All right. So, and then Kumina and
Because
Gary
you're Kumina King now, you
Yeah, can you
inherited
believe
that
that?
from the great
Can you
Professor Rex
believe
Netterford.
that?
I can.
You know, everybody loves seeing Professor Netterford do Kumina King.
Yes.
It is one of the highlights of
And when
his
him
dance
blow the
career.
room.
Exactly.
Yes.
So when Professor took the decision to step away from the role and then decided to teach me, you know, my first question was, why? I'm like, Prof, but when I come on the stage, you're going to wonder who I am. They're going to be looking for you. And he says, no, don't worry about it. And then one of the things he taught me about the role wasn't really about the role itself. He would come off the stage and he would sit. I remember him calling me over and says, Marlon, when you come off the stage, you have to sit. You have to rest before you go on. When I started doing the role, I understood exactly why. That dance is hard.
Yes.
Because you have to carry the whole work. You're not on stage all the time, but you have to carry and you can't lose focus when you're backstage. But to have learned that dance from Professor Netterford himself is something that I'll never forget.
Would I be correct in saying that Prof. Netterford was one of your mentors?
Absolutely. And I'd spend hours at his office sometimes. Sometimes I think, you know, I thought I'd lose my work at Edna Manley College because he called me and says,
Which is now your office, by the way.
oh, can you believe that?
Yes.
He called and said, Marlon, where are you? Sir, I'm at work. So could you come to my office, sir? I can't come. Marlon, by the time it's Marlon, I'm there already. You know, you just can't tell Prof no.
Right,
And
right.
it was just spending time with him, even going into his home, and looking at the incredible artwork.
I can only imagine
lined his
because Uncle
walls.
Barry Moncrief's house was like a
museum.
museum of
It was-
art, but also family photos that just
So warm.
Yes.
Warm.
Say that word.
Warm. And
And
welcoming.
thankfully,
Yeah.
he bestowed one on us before he walked.
Transition.
So we
Yes.
have one, and it's a painting of I think it's Kumino, the ladies. Yeah.
It was a blessing to have that moment with him, knowing that he was parting with things in preparation.
Yes.
But I know that he chose
He
something
handpicked
specifically
things for you. I remember when he was giving, he's like,
Yes.
that's for Marlon.
Yes.
That's for you and Damian.
It was
yeah.
it was bittersweet
It was bittersweet. But
And-
I'm glad that he was able to
to do that.
do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So was Barry Moncrief a mentor of yours?
Absolutely.
It's really important, those connections of passing things on from one generation to the next, whether it's ideas or treasures collected over time. So
Oh, absolutely. And I have this firm belief that if you come along and you see something in place, when you leave, you should make it better. So when the
say
next
that again for people in the back.
when you come along and you see something and you have the power, ability, capabilities, capacity, or talent to make it better, you have a deep vested responsibility to do just that. So when someone else comes along, it's better than when you had left.
But that's not easy though.
Definitely not easy.
What are some of the challenges that you've faced as you try to do service, as you try to make things better? Because sometimes making things better means change,
Absolutely.
and a lot of us are not comfortable with change. So
Yes.
talk to us about some of the challenges you faced in either dance or education or admin, just the world of dance.
Well, some of the things that you face, there's some aspects of the educational system that I believe are tethered to colonialism, in terms of who should be educated, how one should be educated, how does one learn, and how does one treat someone while the process of learning is happening. And, sometimes we have a perception of where you come from as a sort of pre-coded disposition of what your capabilities are. And so you may not be given opportunities to grow or excel because it's already preconceived that you are like this because you are from that particular background or from that particular family or from no family whose name is recognizable. And I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that. Everyone should be given a fair opportunity to excel and grow. And the opportunities to learn should be equal. There should be equity across the board. And so when you think about that change and creating different kinds of learning experiences, it's not rote learning where you're going to study 10 things, A, B, C, D, and come back and regurgitate. It's about creative learning. It's about assessing students in different ways, and oral, project-based learning, using the arts as a way of teaching mathematics and the sciences, because you want to have a balanced brain, right brain, left brain, as they say in the sciences. And that change can challenge traditional forms of learning and an old school way of thinking about how people learn and education. And so that in itself can be very challenging, new school thought as against old school.
Yes.
And you have this tension between both. But for me, if you put the child or the learner at the center of that, then I believe it will all work itself out.
You've spoken about that from the educational perspective.
Right.
But Marlon, you're a young man. You hold the position of dean and the head of NDTC.
Right.
We've grown to see older men at the helm of NDTC. What is the, on the same trend of thought as it relates to challenge? What are some of those challenges that you experience as the leader of the NDTC? Without, we're not talking about any specific person.
Yeah,
or
but
persons.
especially because the tradition is so rich and strong. And as Damien says, we perceive as a nation that people in charge should be older.
Older, yes, yes.
So have
The
you
gatekeepers, so to speak.
have you had any challenges because of your age in being the person who has a baton to take the race of NDTC further?
Well, I've had the privilege of being mentored by the older ones. That's part of one of the reasons why I miss them so much. To be mentored by Barman Creve, to be mentored by Professor Rex Netterford, to be mentored by Bert Rose, to be mentored by Sheila Bonnet even taught me, to be mentored by Barbara Rekwa, to be mentored by Bridget Spalding. And I'm talking about the first generation of dancers who
because
really broke the glass ceiling.
You're a bridge generation?
You probably think that, but no, I'm not.
You're not bridge.
I'm not bridge generation. I came in right after them. So here I'm nestled between the, what do they call it, Generation Z or millennials?
Yeah, you're in that middle,
right?
Gen Z and millennials.
Right, and then the millennials, the millennials, Gen Z, and then you have the bridge generation. That's the generation that came after the founders. And so when I came into NDTC in 1999, some of the founders were still there. Some of the bridge generation were still there. And then we were that generation that kind of like got the information like from the source.
Directly.
Yeah, from the source. And then they made it incumbent on us to retain it and sustain it and to treasure it and to pass it on in its authentic form.
How hard is it for you to do
Oh my
that?
goodness. You have to respect the work that was done and recognize that you're standing on their shoulders. And you have that responsibility of passing it on, or you will lose it. And nobody, if they value something, will want to lose it. You want to do everything you can to retain it.
There are two things I don't want you to lose your train of thought. But one of the main purposes of Curtain Call is to do exactly that. To treasure it.
Absolutely.
To note it so we can pass it on. Yes, we will evolve and we must evolve and we must do new things. But let us stop in this moment in time and look where we're at and what we need to keep.
Absolutely.
To get to the next level of us as creatives, as artists.
Yes.
And the other thing I want to point out is that every time you get passionate, your feet move like a dancer.
Oh, I felt my foot flexing, like, what is going on?
Yeah. So
I should be quiet
it
in this
just brought me
interview.
back to the beginning of the interview when you mentioned using dance to get the students at Merle Grove to embody the characters.
Yes.
It's as if your whole body is tuned into these missions. I know what you just said you're really passionate about. It's really true things you're telling us. It's not no nice. blurb that you wrote put
But,
down
but I
somewhere.
also want to, we've talked about challenges and we're seeing the passion. Let me just dabble into some other weird things. Like, do you dance in the shower?
Oh God.
Other people sing in the
You know,
shower, but
there is never room in the house that is safe from me in terms of dancing. Let's just put it that way. I dance everywhere. And it's interesting that you point out how my body responds to my passion. When I talk about dance, I do movements in and of itself. I've actually realized it quite recently that when I'm thinking about dance or choreographing in my mind, I tend to walk faster. So it has a whole nerve-ending response to, to what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And it is this kind of passion and this love that I want to pass on to the next generation. Because if they don't have it, they probably won't have the level of investment that perhaps I have had. We're not forcing them to do it, because once you recognize that they know the value, as I said before, of it, they will also try to keep it. What is it doing to me as a person? How has it helped to build my identity? How is it value added to my life? How does it open my eyes to the future? How does it inform my ambition, my goals, and my vision, my dream for myself? How can I use this to get to the next stage of my life? And I think once young people see that, they also put in a level of investment on probably even more. And they're going to throw in their ideas. And when he puts, the other song in Calypso, soca, put it back in. Put it back in.
Put your
back in
Right.
What?
So,
Okay,
that's
fine.
right. So when young people start putting their back in it now, you can actually step back and allow them room to express themselves.
Give
and
them
to
some
build.
breathing space.
Exactly. One of the things that Professor Nedefer did, I think when he came on 10 years before he passed, he developed this mantra, renewal and continuity.
I actually remember that phrase.
Yes, renewal and continuity. And he would always say that he is overseeing his own liquidation. Of course, it wasn't a comforting thing to hear. You want him to live forever.
It just pointed out how much of a visionary he was.
He certainly was.
And not so because there's no way you can understate what he has done for us as a
Absolutely.
people. But he understood that he needed to do continuity, not just
Exactly.
about his period. And that is to be
Exactly.
respected and to be replicated.
Exactly. So he empowered us.
Yes.
And so we have a responsibility to empower the next generation. So he was all about renewal and continuity. And I've said to myself, as Marlon D, as an artist, they're ready to come with something too.
Yeah.
So really, I'm about energizing and illuminating. And that's my mantra going forward, to energize the company.
Energizing and
To energize and illuminate. Yes, absolutely.
Shine the light forward.
Exactly.
and fresh energy, renewed energy.
Which is kind of
energy.
good because we're in the era of EV, the
EV.
green energy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, electronic vehicle.
Oh, okay.
So energy is at the
Right.
base of things, and renewing and so
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it goes back to my growth in the church as well. There's a scripture that has always strengthened me, that shine a light so that others may see. So,
Yes,
glow.
let your light so shine that men may see his good works and glorify your Father in heaven. That's one of my
Right.
faves too.
One of my favorite, and I always believe
Especially
that.
when I become, I don't want people to be looking at me. It's like, ain't about you, get out of your own way.
Yes, and also Miriam Williamson talks about.
It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us.
Exactly, and also what you
Look
do.
at all these bright people. You want to come closer to the side of the chair?
Yeah, I do love words as well.
I know you guys love words. I know you guys in different capacity. Yes,
Yeah.
you're my host and other things. But you're the writer. You're the script. You're the pen, and you are Mr. Educator and Dancer. But you are a dancer's dancer. Marlon Sims, educator, artistic facilitator. And of course, the literary enthusiast. Where do you find the time, or do you find the time outside of NDTC to lend your artistic energies to other projects?
Yes, I do actually. I do teach at dance studios. When I was a university student at the University of West Indies, I was a part of the University Dance Society. From the time I was a student and until after I left, I went back and I taught and I choreographed for a very long time. I've taught in high schools. I've gone into communities. I've gone across the island. I've even traveled across the Caribbean. Find my own money, pay and fare.
Wow.
Yeah, I've called my alum and said, listen, I need to come down there and teach some classes. I will
Look at
pay my
that.
way.
Wow.
And I've gone out to the Caribbean to teach because I just want to share what I know. It has done
The ripple
so
effect of
much
that
for me.
is going to be wonderful.
So much for me that you can't hold it to yourself because that would be just absolutely selfish. I have to share it. And so if I don't share it, then I will not feel satisfied or fulfilled.
Interesting. Which kind of segue into a nice little thing called legacy. What is it that you'd like to be remembered for or known for? You spoke about your energy and energizing and illumination, but what is it that when we think of Marlon Sims, I think of Sweet in the Morning.
I think of Sweet in the Morning and so many things. But yes, what is it? Dance? Is it
Education?
What is it that you want to be remembered for?
I don't work with necessarily thinking about what I leave behind. I work with the idea that I have to do the best I can in the moment that I've been given to work. And if it is that I have made a difference in someone's life, and they can reflect on something that I've shared with them that would have made their life better, for me that is a legacy worth remembering. And hopefully in bringing something to the education of others through the Edna Manley College, I hope that whatever changes have been formulated that would aid the development of someone else, I think will be good. Also, as regards NDTC, safeguarding a legacy, that's very important. Holding it like an egg, that's very fragile. Building on it, probably putting a crate so it's safe. Probably having more eggs in the tray.
Yeah.
And passing it on to the next generation is so very important to me.
Marlon,
You're all the metaphors I'm just going to
things in my body.
It's a literature teacher there.
I don't know, but I see him and if I'm on the other side of this interview watching him and say, but Lord, in born in a dance and in learn dance, and he's at the pinnacle of dance as it relates to Jamaica and so on. But for me, who have two left feet, what can you do for me, man? How does that work? How do you make somebody like me? I won't say Sabrina, because she have a little bit more rhythm than I do.
He lies.
Well,
He lies so much right now in this moment, but go on.
How do you make us look good? Or better yet, we're more performers, actors. How do you work with actors or people who are not?
We don't have a dance vocabulary at all, and are uncertain to take on movement, in telling the story on stage. How do you help them to get? What's your process?
Well, persons always say that, if I can't do that particular movement, then I'm not a dancer, or I cannot dance. And for me, it's not about that. It's just giving the ability to express yourself freely in a way that you feel most comfortable, no matter what music you're listening to. So, of course, if you see someone on the dance floor dancing to something that you cannot relate to necessarily, or you recognize that they're not necessarily on a beat, for me, the appreciation comes when you can express yourself. And so to get you to the point where you feel comfortable expressing yourself, because your judgment about dance has to come from other person's perception of what you're capable of doing. But getting you to understand and appreciate expression for me is a step towards in the right direction. But of course, if you recognize that you can't necessarily do what others can, we also need persons who appreciate the art form and who will support it. So for me, in the dance space, there is space for everyone.
Question. Okay, you speak so well. We think NDTC is more modern, contemporary, and so on.
More eyebrow?
Yes, more cultured dance. Do you broke out? Do you have those things? I don't want to
the dirt.
Yeah.
Well, the truth
I
is,
stand.
the truth is, my entry into where I'm now, the first door that broke open for me was really dancehall. I started in dancehall. That was my first love. In fact, when I first started teaching at Edna Manley College, was in the evening school program, and I would teach dancehall.
Yes, because there's a choreography he did to Pandora, because I used to do that class in 2002, and I still remember. Anyway, that's a whole.
I know who was in my class too, and she reminds everybody that I taught her dance.
Jenny?
Jenny.
Yes, because I remember her in the class too. I remember her so much in that class because she was very Jenny, as she always is.
Yeah.
Chris Walker is also the or came under the umbrella of NDTC.
Yes,
around the same time as you.
School of Dance, same time as me.
And he has done so much amazing work, predominantly where I just kind of spoke about in terms of dancehall and so on.
Right.
Do you have a Marlon Sims move, a vocabulary? When you say a certain move that a Marlon move, when you guys are working with the NDTC, creating a show, is there a sort of language that you have? I know Uncle Barry have a certain move And I'm sure Prof also had a certain,
So do you.
Well, do you have that?
Well, I never actually
Step out to yourself, to look at yourself.
yeah, and what I do too, because I have interest in so many genres, I tend to try to develop the capacity to choreograph or teach any genre. And so when you see a work of mine, you may see a fusion of all. I have a work on in this year's season of dance called Cascade, and it's a sort of metaphoric look at my experiences in the pandemic and the struggles that dancers had to go through when they could not be in the studio with other dancers making physical contact. And you had to learn online, and also you had to explore other streams of income because you could not dance.
What does Marlon Sims do for fun?
Yeah, in your downtime. Come
Okay,
on.
my
Do you
downtime.
even have
I love
downtime?
road trips.
Road
I
trips.
love road trips. Portland is by far my favorite parishes. Sorry, all other parishes, but yeah.
So do you have a road trip ritual?
Well, during my break time, I love to go to Portland. I love Frenchman Cove. I love Boscobel. No, Boscobel is actually in St. Mary, and I used to work there, so going through that end as well is also nice for me. I love Ocho Rios, love Pastor Saint, and I love St. Elizabeth because my stepfather is from St. Elizabeth, and my very supportive stepfather, God rest his soul, the one who actually was behind me from age 3, who loved the performing arts. And as I was telling you earlier off camera, that every performance, my stepfather was there taking pictures. He was a photographer by profession, and it's not normal. And I would say normal in quotation for males to support other males, particularly fathers to support their male
Dance,
child
yes.
in dance. But my stepfather was behind me 100%. Even
That's a
talking about him
gift.
now is
That's a gift.
just an amazing man. We lost him about 5 years ago, but yeah.
So you like water, road trip, beach kind of scenario.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
What you must have in the car while you're doing the road trip.
I love fruits, but I also love fruits and nuts. I don't know if
For me, I have to have cashew and craisins.
yeah, like nuts
And
as well.
Lucozade.
Raisins and peanuts. That's my thing.
Peanut nothing eat, but that's a whole different conversation. All right, Marlon, road trip connoisseur of Jamaican undiscovered places,
Yeah, absolutely. Waterfalls.
waterfalls.
Yeah.
Wow. One final question.
All right.
Family
Family.
and dance.
What do those
We need-
words?
yes.
Yeah, what do they mean to you? Well, we know what dance means, but what does family mean to you?
Family means everything. I have a WhatsApp group on my phone with family members. Because my father is no longer here, my stepfather is no longer here. One group is called Mommy and I repeated them. So we have regular conversations. I come from a big family. You count all of my siblings on my father's side, my stepfather's side, and my mom, and all of us.
You're talking to the congregation, but that's a whole, we're from big families ourselves.
So you're saying the entire family is one night at the little theater.
We have a football team,
Yeah.
netball team, volleyball team.
Yeah, man, reserves and all.
Right. I even have a WhatsApp we call it the Sims Brothers. So you know how much I weigh, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
family is
beautiful.
important to me. And then I have so many nieces and nephews and
So you've been Uncle Marlon long time.
grandnephew.
Yeah. You've been Uncle Marlon long before the students at Edna Manley started calling you Uncle
When
Marlon.
it's around them, hear Uncle Marlon regularly. You're like thinking that, oh wow, I'm not so old after all. And then you go to Edna like, Uncle Marlon, and like thinking, looking behind it, going,
Well, Marlon, Uncle Marlon, thank you for sitting with us here, Curtain Call. It's
my pleasure.
This was beautiful.
thank you so
And
much.
we'd like to just leave something with you because you love to read.
Oh, absolutely.
And it is a copy of one of my books
Ah,
that I have published in recent years.
your fearless book.
My stepping out of fear book.
Yeah,
and I
lovely.
hope you'll enjoy it, and I hope you'll get some
Thank you so
inspiration
much.
from it, and some of the exercises may actually have purpose for you as you continue to
Thank you so much.
leave your footsteps on the stages of dance across the world.
I appreciate it.
We appreciate
Thank you. Thank you.
And maybe we'll have to do a part 2. There's so
Yeah, man.
much more to
We didn't even go into
to
certain
unlock
genre.
and put the spotlight on. Yeah.
I can't wait to
but
read it. I cannot wait to read it.
And I'm going to finish off the thing quickly.
I can't wait to hear your feedback because I'm not going to be
yes.
honest.
Thank you.
But thank you. It's been a wonderful chat.
In front of the curtain.
Yes, in front of the curtain.
Yes.
And thank you for being excellent host. Really appreciate it.
It was our pleasure. All right, so Who's gonna be next on Curtain Call? You'll see.